This is going to be a sample video that I'm making, basically for myself, my first video, on a little lesson in astrology and how it works between the Vedic astrology of India and how it can be applied to Western astrology. It's really quite amazing. This is Parasara's light. And what I'm going to do here, take the mouse and click on the file. I'm going to open up my chart. And here's my chart. Now I won't confuse you with all the stuff on here. However, if you look here, this is a Vimshatari Dasha. You see the dates on the right? Now I can click backwards and I can go through my life. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Let's click down. And I'm going to go backwards. And you'll see the Sun Dasha, Venus Dasha, Ketu Dasha on the left. See those figures? And what's interesting is Ketu in my chart would rule the military and things to do with whatever the military represents. And you'll notice the date on the right, May 11th, 1959. That's pretty well the date that I joined the Canadian Army in a reserve type of unit for 15-year-olds. And then I went into the regular forces. And so if we follow that up here, see K2 on the left, and it ends in 1965. Now I got out in July of 1964, so the energy continued for a bit, but then you see May 11th, 1966, Venus. That's when I got married. It's amazing. Venus in my chart is in my 7th house of marriage. So we continue along here. We go through Venus, and I entered a Sun Dasha in 1986. And in my chart, the Sun is in the 9th house of religion and long-distance travel. And also in Aquarius, I'm an Aquarian, which rules astrology and computers. And that's the year where I got involved with spiritual church, higher learnings of other types, astrology, and went on long-distance trips to England to try to find my ancestry. So now we can continue up further, and we get into a Moon Dasha, and that was 1992. And what was starting to happen here was that things to do with women in my life were running into difficulties. My daughter got very ill. Other things happened. It was really quite difficult. We went bankrupt. 1995 is the year of my daughter's brain tumor. And we can go through that. And 1999 is when I had to leave a job I had. I was basically forced to leave. And then we got into 2001. I was disabled. Had no job, had to sell my house. And here we are in a Mars Dasha on the left, the red MA, started May 11th, 2002. And in July, I started working for the federal government. And in my natal chart, Mars is conjunct Uranus and Saturn in the 12th house. Mars is the military. It's also the soldier, the warrior. Uranus is airplanes and groups of people. Conjunct Saturn, the supervisor, the older person, in the 12th house of hidden things such as explosive devices that we were looking for in TSA. And 2002 is the exact year that I started working there. So we can go on, and that was a short one, and it ended in 2008. My wife died in 2007, and if you look at 2007 to the left, is Mars conjunct Venus. Venus is in my 7th house of the spouse, and Mars is aggressive action. So now, as we go towards May the 10th, 2009, I will be entering a Dasha of Rahu, which in Indian mythology represents doing all the things that you've learned on a spiritual plane and bringing them in a material plane, basically. It also would refer to publishing and communication. So, as I'm still in a Mars Dasha, I need to look at transits to my natal Mars and I'll be able to predict events. And also the dasha after that. In other words, we have Mars conjunct Venus in my wife's situation, Mars conjunct Sun, Mars conjunct the Moon. That's basically what I'm in right now until May. So I need to look at what's happening with Mars and my Moon in my chart. Okay, now I can expand that for more dates. You see, what Mars, Venus, Mars, Mars, Venus, Mars, Mars, Venus, Venus, Mars. Okay, so I can predict events in using that. So I'm just going to bring up my other chart, if I can find it here. And here we go. And here's my natal chart using the Western system. And you can see, I'm going to use the cursor. Here is Mars conjunct Uranus conjunct Saturn. I'm in a Mars Dasha, okay? The warrior, airplanes, groups of people, the supervisor in the house that is hidden. Here is Venus over here, 13 degrees Capricorn. This chart's a little bit off. It should be 28 Gemini ascendant. I was 2 minutes off on my birth time. So Venus is in the 7th house, okay? So transits to Venus rule my spouse or long-term relationships. The Moon down here is in my 3rd house of communication. And I'm entering a Rahu Dasha, which is 3rd house, which is brothers, sisters, siblings, short trips, communication, publishing, okay? So this area up here was activated from 2002, where I became working for the military and the federal government around airplanes searching for bombs, okay? The 12th house, enemies. Now this will be activated down here, Rahu, Pluto, and the Moon. Okay, so it gives an idea of what's going to be happening here. And actually this is a little bit scary because Pluto rules basically things that go bump in the night, as does Rahu, but it brings it into the physical realm, and the Moon can have similar meanings. They are conjunct. Also, Moon rules mother and female, and basically this shows that the way they would put it in India is that I would kill my mother and my wife. But what happened here was that with my mother, she was given the wrong medication, and I had to sign a release form basically withdrawing her from support facilities, as I had to with my wife's unfortunate death. It was very bad. So we can take a look at things here, and sometimes it's a little too much information that people want to know about. But it also shows you what's going on. Now, I'm going to bring up a list of transits that show us what's going on. So here we are, February 13th. Okay. February 13th, which was last night, 10:13 p.m., and son of a gun, it's a Mars transit opposition my Pluto. This would happen about every year and a half, but it's activated because I'm in a Mars Dasha. Pluto's in my 3rd house of transportation and short trips. Mars is in, see over here, 7 degrees Aquarius. Aquarius rules air. I went out to my car this morning and I had 2 flat tires. You betcha. So what's going on the 15th? Jupiter trine Mars. It's a Mars thing, so something's going to happen. Is Jupiter, happens once every 12 years, trining my Mars, which is in my 12th house, as we saw in my chart. Jupiter expands things and has other things going on, so it's going to be an expansion of something to do with aggression. But it'll be friendly because it's a trine. So if nothing else, I'm going to have a lot of nice energy around me to do things. Okay, so it gives you some idea of what's going on. And if it's to do with a person, the person is Jupiter. It could be a Sagittarian. My son's a Sagittarian, but Jupiter also rules Pisces. But it could be something like a phone call from my son. But at any rate, it's all these things. I'm certainly going to be feeling good on that day because Mars is energy. And basically my energy is down because it's in my 12th house. So that's a short lesson on how we can use dashas to see what's going on. And we can really pinpoint things in our lives. Okay, so much for the little experiment, and we'll see how this works out for further videos of this nature.